Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 154 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in each episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. So today, featuring yet again a really phenomenal project who was very influential and is still active in the scene, with a very distinctive style that still has, I think, more variety than they are usually recognized for. This is Growling Mad Scientists, GMS, who had a number of participants. Rickham and Banzi are, the most known. Banzi passed away sadly in 2018. Rickham is still very active, but there were other members of the project collaborating on different tracks. And today, one of the tracks I'm going to feature comes from an album that was released in October 1998. And I can't seem to put my hands on my copy of it, but I certainly remember when this landed. Now, I'd been enjoying them since first encountering them when Cosmic Steve, who was with helped in some capacity getting them on, I think it was Hadshot, their first phenomenal album that just blew everyone away. And we were playing at this tiny little gathering outdoors in the spring, I'd say, of 97. And it was just completely blowing my mind with what he was playing. And I think that was when I got familiar with Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and just lots of incredible tracks on that album. And again, with more variety than the sound with which GMS would be associated. And so, Yakov, I believe, was part of the project at that time. The track today features was with Banzi and Jasmine and Amrit. And this comes off this phenomenal Growly family album. And, interesting because, in the terms of family, like there's a lot of different members, right? So all these different little collaborations on this album. And, at the time, I was also hearing some of their productions on different tip compilations. And the thing is, right, GMS is really well regarded as pioneers in this very high energy, high octane, very sort of electro enthusiastic kind of sound. But they have way more going on. Like there's a lot of really cool, slower, groovy, and mega deep stuff. I think I featured One Small Creature, or maybe it was 1.3 Crumbs, but some of these slower tracks absolutely are mind-blowing. So, there's so much fun and exuberance and wildness and a little bit of that wacky, crazy carnival like, insanity in so many of their tracks that it can be really easy to, and because they were so prolific, they really produced a lot. It can be really easy to just associate that sound with the name. And there's a lot more. Now, this album, Growly Family, has BPMs ranging from 130 and a couple of tracks at that speed through to 170, although the 170 track is breakbeaty, and so, I kind of have my doubts about how that gets read because it doesn't feel like, what we're hearing now with some crazy dance music that's at that BPM and you just can't dance to. This was different. But, in terms of regular kicking for on the floor tracks, up to 150. So 130 to 150 is quite a range. And obviously the mood, the temperament, right, and the impact is going to be quite different. But it's not just BPM, and this is what's so important. Because when we go back to 94 and listen to Order Odonata, that first compilation that I got on Dragonfly, most of the tracks there are around 130 to 134, maybe 136. There's a couple that are up to 140, but not much. So it sounded faster too. These ones, though, at this point, the vibe was shifting. 140 was pretty average, right? And 140 to 145 was becoming the norm. There were absolutely faster tracks. But here, 130 and 136, which is today's track, is gonna, at that BPM, there's a groovy sort of vibe to that tempo. And with the musical content, this is what I was getting at. It's not just the tempo. How is it done? What's being done at that tempo for any track, any tempo? This is just that's one axis on multiple axes that contribute to the character of the track. And the content in this track is, if I may say so, really darn deep. And there's several patterns that allow for that. There's a very cool little bass line that's got a minor second to a minor third, and it has an accent on the third of the fourth beats of the bar, which is really unusual. So it really, and it becomes very mantra-like. And this is what, again, I've pointed out many, many times. When you get into this repetition, that can really induce the trance state. But it's not just repetition. It's like, what are you repeating? If you're repeating something completely mundane, well, I mean, sure, you can get into some kind of loop, but it's not necessarily one that's evolutionary. This track has tons that's going on. It's got the harmonic element. It's got the right kind of riffs that are circulating, but there's also a lot of textured riffs, right? So these ones that have pitch, this is one of the rich things in our musical scene where you get these riffs that have pitch, but they don't have tone. So they don't have notes on a scale, but there's a relative shift in terms of going higher and lower in frequency. And so it starts to create this really dimensional experience, and that starts creating some dimensional experience in your consciousness. And so, for all of the amazing exuberance and fun and, enthusiasm and really wacky, kind of crazy stuff, where, you might accuse tracks like this of being superficial. I mean, not everything needs to be deep, right? I've talked a lot about the fact that, a carnival-like atmosphere being sort of the flavor that I would get, this feeling I would get in some of those early events. So they contributed beautifully like that. Same with, Green Nuns and, some other projects where it was really fun and wild and wacky and crazy. And that has its place at certain times of the event and the flow. But there's depth, and you can overdo depth. This is the problem I find it, in our scene as well. People can go deep, 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 and then it's like, okay, but when are we going to surface, and when are we going to have the sunshine, and when are we going to enjoy? And so this is where I avoid always playing just one flavor, and want to have that wave. And I think it's really important in our scene that DJs do that. And I think one of the issues with so many live sets at events is, producers by definition have a fairly, restricted range of what they produce. And of course, producers here, like GMS, we can see there's a range actually. But their range is going to be different from the range of Total Eclipse or of Pleiadians or of Hallucinogen or so on. Whereas a DJ can include, you know, how many different flavors. And so I think we need both, but I think our ears have grown accustomed to these shorter sets because producer sets would historically be shorter and a more consistent framework and sonic and stylistic range. And DJs can really push the limit with that. And so what I love here about the GMS output and with the track that I'm going to be featuring today is there's a whole range of flavors that you can choose for different times of the journey. And I think because of the bulk of their output being so rah-rah, super energetic and fun and crazy and quirky and hilarious, that some of their deeper, more hypnotic output can easily be overlooked. And I think it shouldn't be. So I remember when this album came out, can't find my physical copy, but it's somewhere. I mean, I loved all of the tracks on it. And the one I'm going to feature today, I decided to choose a slower one because I think, again, it highlights a number of really important elements that we've sadly moved away from and ideally, I think, would come back to. And this is a track called Gwai, which is a Chinese word for ghost and would be sometimes, there's the word would be played on with some extra syllables to refer to a foreigner in a not so nice way. But as a ghost or a spirit, well, I mean, this is definitely something that you can encounter, this sort of spiritual entity kind of atmosphere when you're on the dance floor and sort of listening to these voices in the music where it sounds like these spirits and disembodied entities that might be communicating something with you from this or another dimension. And there's lots of really, really deep stuff in this one. So, how about we give this one a listen? I just refamiliarized myself with this. I used to listen to this album, like any of the great ones. I would just put the whole thing on repeat and played various ones. And I'm really glad to reacquaint myself with this one because I think it is a doozy. So let's give this a listen uh, by the Growling Mad Scientists, Gwai. So cool little landing taking place over here. Love that descent. Love those zappy sounds. And then, now this is a kind of riff that would be used a lot. And at this tempo, I find it extremely effective. Right? Because you can really hear and appreciate the voicing. Now listen to that bass line. 3, 3. So you can hear that accenting on the third beat. And the interplay with all these other voices. And then that note that comes in with the kick there, really hypnotic, and those aerated sounds as well, super hypnotic, and punctuated with these zaps and weird outer space sounds. Got these weird baby cries, a little bit twisted. Really soft kick with that crisply defined now hi-hat, which is now syncopated. Now you can hear that minor second, minor third. And then those pitched but toneless riffs. That's different kind of pitch and tone, right? So really cool shaping. Again, the relativity that gets created when you have this up and down movement. I mean, it's just like you're going on, this is completely, where the heck is this taking you? So now this starts developing again with these crazy sounds interjecting. So the tension's building up here. It comes out and then comes back in with some extra oomph. Again, the magic of the music of this time is just how all the different riffs can work together in any number of combinations. And there's a story that gets created as the arc of the interplay plays out. Wait, some of these sounds, that one just sort of went and disappeared and then came back into range. Really brilliant. And again, this kind of thing would become really prominent with these and other producers. But again, I find there's a lot of depth here when it's done really slowly like this. And that kick. There's a circularity to that riff that really gets you in this loop that's really trip you out. Now listen to some evolutionary, some shifts coming where it's like breaking out of the confines of this repetition. Again, that syncopated beat also shifting the framework. This more sort of sheet metal kind of cyber electric sound taking over now, right? With nothing that's pitched or toned, rather, other than the bass line. So it cuts through and slices through a lot more deeply. Right, so an evolution here with how this riff presents harmonically, together with that slide. Really ramping up. I'm so hypnotized my BPM counter isn't working that it feels like this is getting faster. And it might just be an illusion, right? But they did do that at times. Now we're back to that more really groovy, grounded bass line. Now listen how different that sounds at this stage of the proceedings. Together with that sheet metal kind of stuff. Just completely hypnotized here. I mean, what a trip. Completely lost track of time. You just lose sense of the proceedings and where you are. I mean, it's just absolutely hypnotic and groovy and expansive and introspective and all kinds of things. We are really losing a lot these days by having music be so fast and by, of course, the lack of variety. And so there's a lot that's going on here that's really working, right? There's that accent on the third beat with the bass line. There's the harmonic flavor being that minor second and minor third. There's the rhythm, right? So we also have some syncopation that was going on while we've had that accent on the third beat. There's the combination of toned and just pitched, toneless riffs that really hit you on different levels, and then that wonderful interplay and that groovy tempo that really lets you sink in and feel what's going on. That is just an absolute masterpiece. And there were others, right? I didn't feature everything yet. So I did either One Small Creature or 1.3 Crumbs, not both. I think it was the former. Lots of absolutely jaw-dropping music and at this tempo. And we need to come back to that a little bit. And DJs, throwing in like this in the middle of the proceedings and, at the right time. It doesn't have to be a shock to the system. It's a very welcome transitory phase that lets you catch your breath and lets your consciousness start to shift gears. So, absolute masterpiece. I will sign off here and let you listen to the whole thing without any commentary. I am Mark DJ Solitaire, wrapping up episode 154 of Retro Goa Explorations with the Growling Mad Scientists, Gwai.
Mhm, mhm.